opinions stated in this podcast do not reflect the opinions of the Alestle or SIUE as a whole. Welcome back to another episode of Alestle After Hours. I am Sam Mirren, and joining me on the show today, we have opinion editor Brandi Spann and copy editor Destiny Albrecht. How are you both doing today?
Wonderful. Same. Doing good.
Just good? Wonderful?
Yeah, I'm actually really good. I don't know what happened to me this morning, but after I parked my car and I was walking here to record the podcast, the trees, like the wind was blowing, and I was walking with all these people in like the super cute fall outfits. I was like, oh, life is good.
Yeah, it is that fall weather, you know. It was funny you say that. Last night I was broadcasting in Greenville, and it was like cool. Like it wasn't, it wasn't cold, but it was cool.
Yeah, it's like we're reaching the point where you're gonna need a hoodie.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
But if you put a hoodie on, you're gonna get hot by noon. So like you can't wear it yet.
Don't start with it.
Don't start with the hoodie yet. But no, you're right. The weather is starting to nicen up. Destiny, how have you been lately?
Pretty good. Very busy.
Yeah, we're getting to that like midterm area, and it's kind of gross, and I'm done with it. I'm just done with the semester already. I'm not trying to like rush it to be over. I'm just done with the workload.
Well, I feel like we have such a long section of school, and then Thanksgiving break, I'm like, I need a fall break somewhere in there. Like 2 days. Give me 2 days.
Yes.
For real. What is with SIUE just not getting on the page of getting us better breaks? No, I'm just kidding. But Destiny, we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show, but you've also been taking on a bit bigger stories since you were last on. This is Destiny's second time on the podcast, by the way.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so a fun welcome back. And since we talked to her last time, she's been doing more work, right? So tell us a little bit about like some of the bigger stories and a sports story you had in there too.
Yeah, sports story was kind of hard because I've never done something like that. Even like I wrote for my high school paper, and I never wrote a sports story, I don't think. I don't know. But in terms of like our feature special edition, like for the Alestle, it was like I think Chloe sent out a minimum of like 800 words, and I was like, oh, trust, I will be rambling. And it was fun to write. I had really fun interviewing people. It was about mass comm and movies and everything, and those people are just so nice. And like I actually did an interview with 3 people at once, and they were all like from the movie set, and they're like, it was more conversational rather than just me interviewing them, if that makes sense. So it was really easy for me but fun for them, so it was great.
And sometimes those are the best interviews where you get the most like authentic content because they don't feel like that one-on-one pressure. It just feels like a conversation.
Yeah, and it was like an hour long of them rambling. I was like, go ahead, this is great. I love it.
So yeah, it will talk all about the movie, and we might even have a special guest coming on. So stay tuned for that in the second half of our show. But first, let's talk about the boring stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about enrollment. Now we did do a episode recently where we had Taza on and we talked about the uptick in enrollment, which is at the time and in the video, it looked good stuff, good positive vibes. And really it is good for SIUE in general. More money from the student, tuition is coming into the school, which helps out organizations and departments on campus. But with good things, there are always bad things. And some of that is highlighted in your story, Brandi. And I'd like if you could like kind of break down the effects, positive and negative, of enrollment here at SIUE.
So there's a long history with this. So I'll give a couple bullet points really quickly. Last year at the budget update, we were, I think it's either 10.4 or 10.6. Yes. Yeah, we had a little bit of a budget deficit, which means that we were spending more money than we were pulling in. And at Minor's budget presentation, he said, like, we're going to start implementing some changes to try and fix this. And there were a lot of changes that were put in place. Some of them very frustrating for a lot of faculty and staff. And I think that's where a lot of the tension comes in, because faculty and staff, though they have these open forums where they can go and share their thoughts, there's been a lot of tension between like dean's offices and departments versus administration, and just the attempt to rush to meet this goal without having things in place to support people while they're making the changes. And that is what my story is about this week with the general requirement courses, because now that all of those changes have started to be implemented, and we had this incredible uptick in enrollment this year, which, by the way, is a very difficult thing to do. Let me just point that out. At that budget presentation I was talking about, Miner said that his goal is to try and get us up to 90% retention and get students from freshman year to sophomore year to stay and just keep pulling in the student body. So there's really a big focus on that, on how many students we have on campus. So for our enrollment to have this great uptick this year is a very wonderful thing for our budget. He has presented this semester. We no longer have a deficit in our budget. And those are all wonderful things. But with this uptick in enrollment came this other frustration with making space for these students in classrooms, making sure that faculty and staff had the support they needed to best approach teaching this amount of students. And there were a couple issues that my story kind of honed in on. With the ACS classes, they had this same problem where the dean's office would call again, hey, can you add more courses? We have more students coming in. Hey, we need another course. And this happened up until about a week before the semester started, maybe even days before. Within that final week, they were still adding classes. And with a class, you need an instructor. And all of the instructors for ACS were maxed out in their workload. And adding on these classes, we have to go back to the lecturers and be like, hey, can you take another class? Or they need to hire somebody else to do this. And that was also true for the English department, which is also mentioned in the story. So all of these last minute changes that happened to these classes involved adding in new lecturers, hiring new people last minute. And then with that influx in students, they also had to increase the amount of students that could be in the classroom. And that's, just one student might seem like not a lot. But for the lecturer, especially if they're teaching 4 or 5 classes, especially if they're on an overload that semester, that's a lot of work to grade the student's work, to spend one-on-one time with that student, and especially for these classes that are very hands-on and individualized for each student. That's a lot of one-on-one time that gets taken out of the amount of material that they can cover in the semester. So there are a couple downsides to that, but obviously the departments did the best that they could, and things do seem to be working like they should. But it was that mad scramble there at the end to try and make sure that everything was running smoothly that was frustrating, especially for the 2 folks that I talked to. There's a lot of work happening here in the fall, but in the spring, that's going to slow down, and those classes will change. So all of the lecturers and instructors that they just hired, they aren't going to have work for them in the spring, and some of them will have to be let go or drastically lose hours. So it's very frustrating for the ground level workers, if you will. They didn't get the right amount of time to prepare for this or a good heads up. And I think that just kind of was, I think that added to the frustration that came from last year's quick changes, quick turnarounds, and a lot of the adjustments are being made really quickly to try and shoehorn everybody into this new vision we have for the university. But the partnership between administration and faculty and staff is really rough at the moment. So there are a couple downsides to this increase in enrollment. A lot of people are overworked. As a student, I'm sure I've heard a couple people say this, if you go down to the muck at lunchtime, the lines are a good half hour long, and sometimes you got to get to class, so that's frustrating. We have resources like counseling that's booked out months, making an advising appointment, very difficult, so other resources like that are on campus are just kind of overwhelmed at the moment.
Absolutely. It almost seems like everyone has been kind of, administration, staff, faculty, a bit shocked by the influx of high enrollment. So it's definitely when you're cutting back, and I think that the shift to cut back, not necessarily all bad, just because, as you mentioned, the chancellor, who spoke on multiple news stations about becoming from $10 million in deficit to none. But now those cutbacks are met with a bit of a higher need, too. So
yeah, and if those cuts are taking away salaried positions, taking away the employees that are actually doing the groundwork for pedagogy, for building service workers, keeping the buildings looking clean, like if those are the places we're making cuts, it's decreasing the quality of the institution for the students.
Right. So that's kind of the interesting thing is they took a step back and now there's almost a more of a need to take a step forward too. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt even into next year, because they could hypothetically go back to spending more, especially if they continue to show higher enrollment as they move forward. So it'll be interesting to see if this is just kind of a transition period for SIUE of like, hey, maybe we're just growing, and these are some growing pains, where they were kind of adapting to the situation they're in. I don't know. It was interesting to see a lot of interesting trickle-down effect, especially from the top.
And a lot of the attention in administration is in the administrative work, because obviously that's their goal, that's their job to accomplish that. So I talked with the director of undergraduate admissions, and she said that they didn't have any problems with the fact that they needed to hire new staff to deal with the influx of students. Administration was supporting them, and they were able to quickly go through that hiring process and approach it with full intention and get all of that done successfully. And that just doesn't seem to be the same case for the departments that I talked to. They don't have the same amount of support because the administrative support that they need, that's not where their goals or their minds are at the moment.
Right.
So there's a little bit of frustration and conflict there.
So enrollment brings pros and it also sometimes brings cons. But
yes.
I mean, that's the thing. At universities, that's how they work. They run on trial and error in a sense. Kind of the trial here, or the error is like, hey, we restructured and now we kind of need to restructure again, almost immediately. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But again, it kind of continues on to this feels like semester-long story of enrollment and what are going to be the effects of enrollment, because we don't know until we kind of get there. And we'll see as we move forward, what will the retention be from semester 1 to 2 and even going into the next year from this big class.
We do know that they over-enrolled because of the housing situation that happened. I can't recall if it's been mentioned on the podcast. Yeah, so they had to turn study lounges in the freshman dorms into dorms because they just filled them up too quickly, and it kind of seemed unexpected, like they weren't prepared for that. So I think that might also affect that retention from first semester to
as I mentioned, it feels like everyone's just kind of been like, where did all these students come from? Right. Where are they spawning in at?
I feel like the communication isn't there between like departments. My grandma used to work like downstairs as like one of those cashiers. And nicest lady down there. You know who she is if you're listening. You know who she is. But she actually retired last year, and like at the end of last year, because she was just not only was she at that point, but she was also just so like fed up with what she was dealing with down there, and like they would have those like event days where like everyone gets like a meal card and like you can go down there and get a free meal. They wouldn't tell them when those days were, so they couldn't like prepare the staff and have more staff for it. So they like were just surprised by how many students showed up, and then there would be those long lines and having that on a daily basis just sounds horrible. Well, and that's the thing. When I talked to the director of undergraduate admissions, she said that this is a very intentional effort, and it's been in place. She's been in her position 3 years. This goal has been in place since before her. The goal is to have an enrollment number of 14,500. So it is intentional that they're increasing their admission or outreach efforts and trying to bring these students in. So to say that they're surprised, I don't know if that's really true, because they are actually trying to do this. It just seems like we don't have the resources to support it, even though their language might assume that we do.
So I think this also is something that was interesting, and kind of pulling from all kinds of stories here, but pulling from the reaccreditation stories. So when I talked, and they the school goes through an evaluation process through multiple elements. I'm not going to break it down here. It's just very detailed. But one of the elements is communication of the message and like the goals of the university. And that was something where they didn't get critiqued. Like they didn't lose points. It wasn't like a test, you know, and they got -5 or whatever. But they were like suggestions of, hey, you could improve this element. And I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that effect of like administrative, not just declarations, but more goals, administrative goals of enrollment or retention. And some of these departments aren't quite either getting that message clearly or getting it where they can accommodate the message.
Right.
So,
or it's coming just far too late, like a week before the semester.
Or right, yeah, it's coming in too late.
Yeah. One of the interviews for that story was with the director of first year writing, Matthew Johnson, and he said that he kind of gets the feeling that the chancellor and administration are more concerned with those numbers and with that goal, with those numbers, rather than they are about like effective pedagogy and like actually the teaching that happens in the classroom, which makes sense because that's obviously their job is to think about that, but there is that tension there, right, where like their goals don't exactly align with the student needs sometimes.
Yeah, the quote, I think in the moment of frustration is probably brushing over the fact they do obviously care, because in order to keep them there, they have to have good teaching. It's just they're not considering that in order to keep that teaching.
Right, they're not showing up and supporting that the way that they should.
So that'll be a storyline to keep following, and a good reason to follow the Alestle on all its social media and along in paper, just to see what news story will come from enrollment. But something else you can find in paper, maybe a little more lighthearted, or it could be advisal, I guess, or advisory, I don't know, a word, is in Brandi's section of Matter of Opinion. Brandi, tell us about this new section. Now we've gotten 2 editions of it so far, recent publications, but
and this will be the third this edition. We have the third.
But tell us about what Matter of Opinion is.
Yes. So, I graduate in the spring, so this is my final year as opinion editor, and I wanted to do something special just to kind of shake up my job and do something fun. And I was looking at other student newspapers, and the inspiration actually came from the Daily Illini at UIUC. They put out a personal opinion piece. Someone had written about their breast reduction surgery, and the title of the piece was "I broke up with my boobs," and I was like, "This is awesome!" What? And I read it, and it was like so personal and really cool to see people talking about stuff like that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about, especially students when we're busy doing other things. But this is also a really formative time in our lives when we're going through a lot of big life changes, informative moments. So I thought it would be kind of cool to have all the members of our staff during every edition kind of sit down with themselves and talk about something that they have gone through and share some sort of like anecdotal advice, or just tell a story about an experience they've gone through and try and offer some sort of camaraderie with other students about that. So I wrote about birth control. We had a reporter, Paris, write about his experience with microaggressions. And then this edition, Dylan is writing about childhood grief. So there are a couple different just big things that people go through that we don't talk about enough. And that's kind of the point of the section. So definitely check that out if you're looking to bond with other students.
A question, though, because might join in on the Matter of Opinion writing. Does it have to be like a struggle, or can it be like a strength or a positive change you've gone through too?
Oh, it can definitely be a strength. Yeah, the point of it is to share advice, I think. So if it's something that maybe was difficult at first, but now you've overcome it, like something like that, is powerful. And I think everybody that's on staff brings like their own interesting past and their own perspective on things, so it's kind of cool for this to be an opportunity for our staff to write about something very personal to them.
Awesome. So we also have one other story that I believe, Brandi, you contributed on. You didn't write it by yourself. You wrote it with Michael Kate, correct? Yes. Our managing editor, about the new Taylor Swift album, and we have 2 Swifties in studio today, so we might as well hash out the controversy.
Now, Sam, do you listen to Taylor Swift?
Well, No, not on a regular. I do know. I know who. Obviously, I know who she is. You know, and if I told you my favorite song, you'd laugh.
What is
Tell
it?
us.
Well, it's probably like "Shake It Off." You know, like.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Sam.
Well, here's why.
No, that matches. That totally matches.
But okay, the only reason I say that is because when I was in like, I don't know, 5th grade, it was when that video of the police officer dancing to "Shake It Off" in his car. Have you seen that? The popular video? Yeah. That's probably it.
It really resonated for you.
It really did. I'm a "Shake It Off" kind of person. You know?
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
She has good songs. I'm not gonna say like I'm her biggest fan, but I'm not a number one hater at all.
Right.
But I hear that there is some number one hate recently.
Yep. Yeah, this album, I don't know, I was disappointed, and I was also disappointed in the Tortured Poets department. So it sucks to like have to come back and talk about Taylor again and be so mean, because I really do love her music. I think she is a great songwriter when she wants to be. Maybe, I don't know, I can't tell anymore.
I liked Tortured Poets Department, so the only criticism about that one that I would have is the fact that I bought the album before she released the second part, and I had to buy the other album. I'm like, you already have enough money, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
But for this album, I thought the vibes were there. Kind of. It seems like she's been hanging out with Sabrina Carpenter too much, though.
And she's trying so hard to replicate her power, but she just cannot.
Yeah, and the lyrics, like, Taylor's whole brand is lyricism, and the lyricism was not there this one. And it was really sad, because especially with her song Eldest Daughter, I'm an eldest daughter. I thought I would literally, like, cry and, like, to that song, and it made me giggle because it was so cringy.
It was really bad.
So she sings in it that she's like not a bad bitch, and that like her life or whatever isn't savage. And I was just like, this is not 2016. What are you saying? What is that?
I haven't heard somebody say the word savage in ages.
Yeah, I was just like, this is giving millennial, which fair, she's millennial, so it makes sense, but like
yeah, but it's just it's out of touch. Yeah, it's kind of like tone deaf to the moment. And I think the reason it was okay was because the production was really good. There were guitars on this album, guys. She doesn't do that. I guess she does do that, but you know, it really like stood out.
Not like how she did it, like
right. The production was good. And it is a pop album. Like, it does match in that sense, but a lot of the marketing for it was very focused on this like life behind the curtain sort of what happens to the pop star when she gets off the stage, and then it was just her like dreaming about being in this like suburban house
with a man
hosting a Super Bowl party. Like,
it was very like, I thought you were going to go into like your whole life as like a girl boss who literally is like number one in music history right now.
There's so much pressure on her. Like,
like sing about something, but you're limiting yourself down. You're doing what everyone says you have been doing and limiting yourself down to a man. Yeah. And I'm just like, you're fitting the stereotype, and I love you, but like, what is that? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, and the topics that she has chosen that are like not male centered, she's done them before, and over and over and over again, and it just keeps coming back to the same topics, and it's like starting to get old almost. It's like this, there's no way that you don't have any new thoughts on the way that this has affected you since 2019. Like,
and then like bringing up the like Kim K drama and stuff again is just like, okay, we've heard it, like, we know. I know that was traumatizing, but like, maybe say it in a different way now, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of getting annoying.
It's getting repetitive. Yeah. And like, as such a big artist, the way that she has started to kind of pump out albums so quickly, what's it, like 8 albums over the past 5 years, is just, you can tell she's getting tired. You can tell that she's just doing it to have something to entertain the fans. And it's like, hey, you can take a break. Yeah. You can disappear for 3 years.
Tour, like, like, you deserve a break after that one. Like, that was a lot. And I feel like the thing that bothers me the most is that I know she's like not very political. She tends to steer away from that. But there's so much going on in the world right now with Gaza, with our president with everything, with women. She's a woman, like, you have so much to relate to.
Yeah.
But, like, with women's rights being, like, taken away, you could sing about that, but instead you're singing about being a trophy wife. Like, I don't want to hear that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's very disconnected from it, and that does have to do with the fact she's a billionaire and she's more concerned with her tour. But, yeah, just very out of touch, which was disappointing to hear for sure.
Yeah.
I think I need to listen to this album. I need
Don't
to hear.
bother.
No.
No, I want to hear what he has to say about wood.
Oh. Yeah, it's just what it sounds like, Sam. WOOD.
Oh, I can't imagine. Oh, I can't.
Redwood tree.
Redwood tree. I ain't got a knock on wood.
Hey, we can't get copyrighted on here.
Oh.
No, I'm just-
Just like her.
Yeah, no, I have heard a lot of hate to the new album. I haven't heard it myself, so I can't comment per se. I haven't.
Within a week of the album being out, she had 29 different variants of it that people could purchase.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
just so capitalist. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're taking money away from people that need money, but you don't need money anymore. So
It's
why
like,
do you
guys,
keep taking
stop
it?
buying it. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop supporting her slop.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
And, like, why do you...
Did I buy the CD? Yes.
Did you buy the cardigan?
No.
Yeah,
I want the
thought
folklore
about it.
cardigan or nothing.
Folklore was the cardigan era. Why
Yeah.
are you making it every other era? Like, let's bring something new to the table each era so it's not repetitive, like you said, and it's
Yeah.
she's not doing that.
Unfortunately, you get into what's called a recipe, and a recipe
Yeah.
equals money.
Yes.
But,
Thank you. You could have written the review. You really could have.
Well, the thing is Taylor or even Sabrina Carpenter. But now, I'm not gonna say like Sabrina's music is the same, but she's found her style, which is a recipe for her, and it's led her to success. And so you can't be. I think Taylor's. Again, I haven't listened, so I don't know for sure. But she's kind of just doing the same thing, and it can be frustrating. One of the bands that I follow, I don't listen to too large of bands, but Audrey listens to them too. AJR. They do like different themes, and they it's always changing. It's always changing. Their merch isn't the big part of their show. It's the production of the show. They're big production people, and just like in how they film their videos and stuff like that. It's really cool, but it keeps you entranced because you're basically it's new, and that's
What's coming next?
yeah, like what are we gonna get? You know, their latest album was What No One's Thinking. You know, like it was really good. It was really interesting, and they're always very relatable. So that's why I think people like them. But it's just interesting because that's their recipe. You know, that's their recipe for entertainment success. So it'll be interesting to see if she sticks with this kind of new trend or new like.
This was all the ingredients for Midnights, but she overcooked it. Or actually, no, she undercooked it because it needed more time in the oven. It really did.
So we'll see. Well, maybe it becomes a new trend, or it's just a one-off. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. That kind of is a great segue into our life section. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk all about our movie-themed section in life. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back here on Alestle After Hours right after this. You're listening to Alestle After Hours, the official podcast of the Alestle. For all our news stories, check out alestlelive.com, as well as our social media on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Again, you're listening to Alestle After Hours. Back to the show. All right, welcome back. Sam Mirren here on the Alestle After Hours podcast, and Destiny and Brandi and I are still with you, but we have another voice in studio, Instructor Cory Byers from the Mass Comm Department. Cory, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
And Cory is here because we kind of have a bit of a different look in our Alestle edition this week, involving movies, but not just any movies. We have a kind of a movie theme going on, but also a specific focus on student-made movies. Cory is here because he is the instructor for our Global Village class, which there's 2 classes or variations, so he's going to talk about it and fill you in on that. But there's a lot of filmmaking that stems from this class. He also does short films as well, so he'll talk a little bit about that too. But Destiny over here got to interview Cory and a few students. So Destiny, why don't you talk about the kind of a bigger story you got to take since we last had you on the podcast?
Yeah, I thought it was... I was very honored that Chloe asked me to do it. It was very fun, though, because I'm in the Mass Comm department. It's nice talking with, like, my fellow, I guess, students.
Yeah, peers.
Yeah. Good word. It was interesting because I didn't realize that a lot of films that students have made have gotten awards for them. So to hear that, and then to hear what Cory had to say in his about his class and how going from that class to getting awards, the transition is just amazing to me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so Cory, just a bit of an explanation. So in our special edition, this is in our life section in the newspaper. Again, it's kind of a focus on movies. We had a Metro East Markets, which is where a lot of us go and review a local business, but it's on a theme. So this theme was movie theaters, which was really cool. I think a lot of people enjoyed it for sure because they got to go see a film. And then Olivia and Brandi was present for this story process, got to interview someone for a new Napoleon Dynamite movie, correct?
Yeah, so the Napoleon Dynamite cast came to St. Louis as part of their tour. They were touring the movie and talking to people who attended the event about filming it, about life after filming it, and Olivia got to go see that. And she also scored a private interview with one of the cast members. His name is Efron. He played Pedro. If you recognize the saying, vote for Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. And I wish he was here to talk about it because it's just such a special thing, I think, for our paper to get to do that. It's really unique, and it's not something that student journalists get to do very often. So it was really cool to watch her kind of use her expertise about movies. For anyone that's a new listener, you probably might be able to check out Olivia's Corner. It's a column in the paper where she writes about movies that she's seen. She's seen so many movies. She's kind of our resident movie expert. And she got to talk to Efron about his life after the movie, what he's been up to today. And she had so many well-structured questions. She definitely did her research. She knew him and knew his history as a performer. So it was really cool to watch her get to do that. So definitely check that out in this edition. This is probably one of the most special things we've done.
Yeah. And
during my time at the
And even though we don't have Olivia on, like you said, you can still read the full story on alestlelive.com or check it out in the paper. I'm sure it'll be spotlighted in our section. But Cory, that leads us up to you.
Finally.
Yeah, right. The most important guest. But Cory's kind of our SIUE expert on movie making, I would say. Cory, I've got to take your class in Global Village too, so I can kind of speak to it. But just tell us a little bit about what Global Village is and kind of the movie making here on campus.
So Global Village is a TV show we produce every week, starting in week 5 of the fall and spring semesters. We produce an episode every week from that point on, 11 episodes. It's a half-hour show. We stream it on Vimeo, but it also airs locally. And it's 2 classes. It's a 300-level class and a 400-level class combined. So to take the 400-level class, you have to pass the 300-level class. And so the 300-level students basically produce most of the content for the show. And the 400 students produce some content, but they also help produce the show. They write episodes, direct the show. And then we have a lab on Wednesday afternoons where we actually film the hosts introducing the segments, basically. And then I usually edit Wednesday night and get it out on Wednesday night, basically. So the show itself is kind of a news, entertainment, variety show. Students have pretty free reign on what they do. I tell them to kind of do the things they're interested in doing for work or life after school, just to get practice at it. So we have people doing sports documentaries, music videos, short films, news packages, creative pieces, just all kinds of stuff. One of the fun things about the class is because we work really closely as a group, as a team, as a crew, basically, students find other people who they work well with. And so I think when students find that kind of small core group of people, that makes doing bigger things possible. Whereas if you're by yourself, it's like a short film is a daunting task because it's like, I need a script, I need actors, I need crew, I need equipment, I need to know what I'm doing. And that can be a lot. So if you get a small core of people who are like, yeah, let's do this, it's like, okay, let's do this. And so it makes it a lot more fun and doable, I think. And then they always have other students who they can call on to, we might have 3 or 4 people working closely together, but we need actors, we need more crew members. So because of this class, we know who to call on for these things. We also use Department of Theater and Dance students as well. Whenever we can get them to act and stuff, we always try to because they're super talented and they really raise the level of the production. Sometimes it's like, my roommate will act because I need an actor, and they're like fine, but they're not like great.
Right.
So if you can get like an actual actor to be in your thing, that's going to raise the level a lot.
Yeah, I got to do some acting. It was not as good as the theater and dance.
Well, it was smart because your role was like very limited to like yes, Sam can do this, right? It's not, you're not doing the heavy lifting. You're doing like one thing, so that's fine. So the trick is to find really good people to do the big parts that have a lot of emoting or a lot of memorization of lines or whatever it is, and fill in the rest of them with mass comm people who can take direction, basically.
Absolutely. So, and along with Global Village, you teach short films class as well. Is that very similar in elements?
A little bit. That's in the spring. It's a narrative media production, and it's just all about short films. So it's more about the actual process of coming up with script ideas or story ideas first, and then writing a script. We talk about script formatting, breaking the script down, doing shot lists. Just basically, it's just all short films. Whereas Global Village is more intermediate production, basically. Like, here's how to use the camera better. Here's how to use the lights better. Here's how to use. It's basically, everybody takes 204, which is the intro class, and that one's more about just like introducing people to the equipment and the terms and stuff. So now in the Global Village class, it's more about, okay, now let's raise your production quality up to hopefully a professional level. And so the short film class is just more specifically about short film structure and that kind of thing. So we just do short films in that class.
How did you get involved in the class? Were you here for the inception of it, or how did you kind of like take it up?
No, when I started here, Dr. Ralph Donald was in charge of Global Village, and it was a slightly different class. It was still a half-hour show, but it was shot live to tape in the studio. So it was all in the studio, and it was all about SIUE stuff, news, events, all kinds of stuff. And so when I took it over, I took it over at one point, I think, so he could focus on some other classes he wanted to teach, because it's a lot for a class. So we did it kind of like that way the first time I taught it, and then the next summer I'm like, what if we taught this in the summer, and what if we like went out of the studio? And so we started doing on-location shoots, and I really liked that a lot better. So that's kind of how it morphed into what it is today. So we kind of got rid of the whole has to be focused on SIUE thing, just because every year we'd have a story on the geese, or every semester we'd have a story on the geese. We'd have a story on parking. We have the same 10 stories every semester. And so we expanded it to pretty much anything that they wanted to do. And so it's gotten a lot more variety. And I think it's a pro and a con. I think if you give people a bunch of freedom, it's like, great, I can do what I want, but then it's like, I can do what I want, I don't know what to do now. And so sometimes I think giving some more direction is better, because it's like, okay, I have to do a specific story. So for example, at the end of October, we're doing a Halloween episode. So every section has to be Halloween or at least fall related. And so that gives people a little more direction on what they can do their segment on.
Right. So now I want to talk about this, because this is an important part of Destiny's story too. Some of the people that have been in the class before, you've had them for both sections, 333 and 433. A lot of people contributed on this film, The Lesser Key. Destiny, can you talk about what The Lesser Key is and who is kind of involved in your story that you talked to?
So that would be Tom Drake is the director, and he wrote the script and everything for it. And then Andrew Dahlen, I'm not sure how to say it. Dahlen. Mm-hmm. And then Aidan Keene. And they all like collaborated to make The Lesser Key, which is about, it's like a cult kind of vibe to it, so it's spooky. It fits that like vibe. It's about like two friends, and they get involved in, I don't want to like go into it too much, but they get involved in a situation, and one of them becomes like possessed, kind of, you could say, yeah. And like he's got to like save his friend, but yeah.
So I didn't actually get to go and see this film just yet, but it is available to stream online, is it?
I haven't found it anywhere, but Tom said he was going to put it online.
Yeah, eventually. So the publication of it might still be in the works, but it did premiere at Dunham Hall on September 20th. So this was a pretty large event, because I believe it's one of the larger films that have been produced by a student.
It's like 32 minutes, so it's a pretty long one. Usually in the class, I tell them 3 minutes to like 7 minutes is a good time. Sometimes 10 to 15 minutes based on the story. But yeah, he did a 32-minute film, and so it's pretty big.
Right. Now, for Cory, for those that don't really realize, like you say, 3 to 7 minutes, and it doesn't sound very long, but talk about how much time it takes to make 3 to 7 minutes, because you can speak to that.
It can take a long time. Like I think most people who don't work in production or anything about it don't understand how much work goes into production. I think sometimes people just think you just point a camera and magic happens or whatever, but there's like so much work that goes into the pre-production. Just first of all, coming up with an idea that's actually good, writing a script, that can take a long time to write a good script. And then you have to kind of break it down into, okay, where are the locations we're filming, who's going to be at each location, what equipment, what props, what costumes, what, et cetera do I need? And that's all like the producer's job is to figure that stuff out. And then just getting at the location and hopefully you can storyboard it. Hopefully you can do location scouts so you know what the location looks like. But the director's job is basically to figure out like, okay, here's what's happening in the scene. Now, where does the camera go to capture this? And then we just do take after take after take until we get it right. And there can be all kinds of things that go wrong. There can be equipment issues. There can be actors missing their marks, not remembering their lines. It can take a long time. So, I mean, if you have a seasoned crew and you know what you're doing, you can get stuff done fairly quickly, but things can still go wrong. So, it took him, I mean, they did multiple shoots last spring for this, and they were editing like throughout the summer, basically just doing color correction and having music created for it, because I think Andrew made all the music for it. So there was a lot that went into it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So to put together 30 minutes of film is a pretty impressive feat. It was advertised by the department and all that. So
yeah, I'm like thinking about the movies you see in the theaters, right? And you can see the credits scroll at the end, and it's a good 5 minutes of credits. And obviously there's a difference between a movie that's in theaters and a student film, but all of those roles still have to be completed to create that film, and often there's people that are wearing multiple different hats to do that. So that definitely makes sense that it's like such a time-consuming process.
Yeah, because I mean, like Tom was the writer, the producer, the director. He had other producers. Aiden was the director of photography and the editor. Andrew did some produce. I think he's a producer. Andy did sound. So yeah, there's a lot of like doubling up on or tripling up on roles sometimes, just because it's a little easier sometimes to do it that way.
Well, lots of movie action. I think this is a really good section for getting like kind of the professional movie atmosphere story, and then you get the student base. So what's happening here on campus. So a lot to check out in this week's Lifestyles edition of the Alestle. But that kind of winds us down here to the closing part of our show, so to speak. And Cory, for your heads up, so we do a special ending. We end on our obsession of the week or obsession of recent interest. So for example, like mine would be that the St. Louis Blues are starting tomorrow, so hockey season is officially back, which is very exciting for me. It also will determine my mood for the rest of the year. Will he be happy? Will he be sad when he comes to school? Well, how did the Blues do last night? But that would be like my obsession of the week. We'll give you some time to think about it. Maybe Brandi or Destiny can help you out.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what I would say, and I realized that lately I've really been talking to a lot of people about my mocha pot. I've been trying to make coffee at home instead of going out and buying it, and I realized I could just get a little mocha pot and enjoy that at home. So I've been trying to make coffee from home using not my own. I don't grind my own coffee beans yet, but I do have coffee grounds at home. And this morning I got to make myself a little coffee, and my roommate, she said that she has been putting salt in her coffees. So I tried that this morning, and it was actually pretty good.
It's supposed to take the bitterness away.
I guess. I don't know. I couldn't describe the taste to you.
I hate coffee. Like, I hate the taste of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just about to ask, is it Starbucks competitive yet? Are we...
It's better than Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
If I may say. And I'm not a Starbucks hater. I get Starbucks quite often. But... it tastes different. It's less of the like sugar and milk base and more of like an actual coffee base, and I personally just like that better.
And there's no line.
No line. Yeah. No, and there's something fulfilling about like putting the coffee grounds in and like heating it up myself. Like I really like that process, and it makes me kind of slow down in the morning, which I appreciate.
See, I'm in the same boat as you, but I'm a lot more spoiled, and my mom is too, because I still live at home. And so my dad, who wakes up first, always starts the coffee and like has it prepared. So my mom and I wake up to coffee ready. So that's...
Shout out to your dad.
Yeah, shout out to Jack. He doing his part in the morning. Destiny, how about you? What was your obsession of recent?
I'd say in relation to Brandi's, actually Dutch Bros, because I just came in with some. It's super good, really good. I love the amount of syrups they offer is insane. Like, you can just make your own drink, basically. Like, they have banana syrup. Like, what?
That's awesome.
What is banana syrup?
That's gonna be but it was really good.
It's gonna be a Google search after this.
But like, I made like a banana bread chai.
Ooh.
That was amazing. That
Wow.
was really good. And I went to their soft opening because my friend worked there, so he invited me. And then I went to their like hard launch for it. And then after that, if you got the app, you got a free drink. So this was the drink that I came in with today is the first drink I've paid for.
Wow.
All of those were free. So it was great.
That's so funny.
I'm taking we're liking this.
Yes.
It sounds like too much freedom though, like kind of like what Cory said.
Yeah, I know you have too many options.
What do you do?
I can't choose.
Choice paralysis.
My problem is once I come down with a decision at a place, I stick by it. I'm like very loyal to my original choice. So.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing about all these coffee shops popping up is they usually do like seasonal menus. So you find something you like and then you go back the next week and it's gone.
Literally, that's how I feel about the cookie butter. I've been getting that because I don't want it to go away, so I'm using it all I can before it goes away.
Yep.
Usually Verona in Collinsville has coffee flights, and they usually have their seasonal coffee flights.
I love Verona.
So,
It's a great spot. Definitely check that out.
All right, Cory, is yours drink related? Your obsession?
Maybe a little, but it's more about like the weather now. It finally feels like fall.
Yes.
So, because there's a ton of festivals going on in the fall that I like to go to, different Oktoberfest and Halloween things and all kinds of stuff. So it's really weird being at them when it's 90 degrees out. So now finally, it's cooling down a little bit. So I think it'll be a little more enjoyable out there at all these fall festivals.
Yes, for sure. No, that fall weather took its sweet time to get here. And now that it's here, I think it's going to go very quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll be winter before we know it. So
Exactly. Well, I think that wraps up everything here on Alestle After Hours. The Alestle will be heading to D.C. here shortly. I think a week after this releases, we'll be in D.C., so we'll have a great episode of Alestle After Hours when we come back. Alestletics should release while we're gone, so you can check that out to fill your time. So until next time, we will be gone, but we'll have much more to talk about after DC, so stay tuned for that. Bye.